Welcome to the SBDC's Business Blueprint, where we dive into the topics that matter most to you. I'm your host, Jeffrey Beckles, and we're focusing on a critical topic, navigating economic uncertainty. As Bahamians, we've always shown remarkable resilience in the face of challenges. But how can our businesses continue to thrive despite economic fluctuations, global market shifts, and local policy changes? We're joined by Dr. Leo Rolle, CEO of the Bahamas Chamber of Commerce and Employers Confederation, and Samantha Rolle, Executive Director of the Small Business Development Center. They will provide insights into the current economic landscape and share strategies that businesses can employ to weather economic storms, remain competitive, and sustain growth. Welcome, Leo. Welcome, Samantha. It's so good to have you.
Hello, thank
Thank
you.
you.
As we talk about this issue of surviving economic turbulences, how do we best describe what an economic uncertainty is in today's market?
So, Jeff, great question. When you think about economic uncertainty or uncertainty on the whole, it's not knowing, the fear of not knowing, not understanding what's coming, not having an environment that's conducive to getting your business to grow and thrive. Some of those economic uncertainties are the ease of doing business through lack of consultation, lack of educational awareness, lack of that actual olive branch, I would call it, for business owners to come to the table. So, not understanding inland revenue and the processes, not understanding NIB and the processes, not understanding some of the basic tenets of doing business, like importation. And so when you think about economic uncertainty, they are unsure, or when I look at it or think of it, it's a matter of being unsure as to what is happening, what's next, what is next for my economy, what is next for me as a business owner. Is this someplace that I can thrive? Is it someplace where my business is constantly hit with impediments? And so looking at those avenues where business owners are uncertain and how we can actually help them to become more certain through some of the interventions like businesses like organizations like the BCCEC or the SBDC can provide.
Given your comments just now, how important then is it for businesses, small, medium, or large, to have a bit of insight on in terms of the type of business they're going to start? What are some of the impediments, medium and long term? How important is it for small businesses to take a look at that before they proceed?
Great question, and it's a great challenge as well. You find that a lot of times business owners or entrepreneurs go into business because they see someone else doing it and they think that it's a great idea and they want to have that same level of success. Really and truly, businesses should operate to serve a market need. There is a market gap. There's something that is not presently available in the market, and your business can actually be the catalyst to getting that service delivered. And so, testing the market first, market feasibility studies to understand, is this something that is actually needed? How will the market uh, react, or how will the market have an appetite for my product and service? Completing or having a very comprehensive business plan that outlines from start to finish how this business intends to operate both now and in the future. There are businesses that come into an established, so when we think about the red ocean, blue ocean strategy, it speaks to coming into a market where there is high competition or coming into a market where there is no competition. That's not to say that if there's a red ocean that you shouldn't enter. It's the way you enter.
Right.
And so becoming a disruptor to that established industry by doing something that's strategically different. I'll give you examples. Uber interrupted the taxi cab industry. Netflix interrupted live streaming or cable television. And so there are a number of Airbnb interrupted the hotel industry.
Right.
And so it just calls for you doing your due diligence and your groundwork as a business owner to determine that this is a need that the market needs to be filled. And this is how my business intends to do it while impacting the communities I serve. You have to remember corporate social responsibilities.
Speaking about disruptors, Samantha, we recently survived both Dorian
Mm-hmm.
and COVID and the recovery.
Mm-hmm.
We've learned some lessons, at least that's the hope, right? About resiliency, better planning, etc. Talk to us about some of the experiences some of the lessons we learned
Mm-hmm.
from Dorian and COVID and their impact on businesses and why what are those things that we ought to be focusing on now?
So you would say that Dorian being a category 5, and then the pandemic were both uncertainties because they were unknown,
True.
right? So despite the level of planning, as my colleague mentioned, the business planning, understanding the cost of business, whether it's your business license fees or anything of the sort, you can't necessarily plan or expect a Cat 5, Category 5 hurricane or a COVID-19. Or should you?
Mm. And that perhaps probably is the greater question.
It is.
What should we expect?
What should we expect? So then, coming out of the pandemic, we've all had various lessons. So for the Bahamas itself, we were so heavily dependent on tourism. You know, one of the first things that happened during COVID-19, it forced us to isolate ourselves, right? So that booming tourism industry and all of those within that industry took an extreme
Yep.
hit
Away.
to their business. And to some degree, some have yet to recover, and others have closed. Now, you talk about strategies to mitigate the uncertainty. So from a business perspective and entrepreneurs, what they should be thinking about is, what should my business continuity plan look like? Right? So the Bahamas, naturally, we're in that hurricane belt. So we know how to prepare for it from let's batter up the house, the windows, let's make sure we have our cases of water. But from a business perspective, business continuity is not just preparing for a hurricane or weather condition. It's preparing for any disruption to your business.
Yeah.
It could be cybersecurity attacks, right? It can be a cash flow challenge. It could be some of those external shocks that you're just not familiar with, such as the oil prices have skyrocketed. And how does that impact the costs of any of your factors in your business?
Both of you use the term mitigation, meaning that there are some steps that we can take to mitigate impact, even though we can't prepare for any and every circumstance. But from your perspective at the Chamber, Leo, what industries in the Bahamas are most vulnerable to economic fluctuations, and why so?
So that's a great question, Jeff. I think it's universal in nature. So almost every industry is susceptible to economic fluctuations. But when we think of the Bahamas being such a heavily service and financial services, as well as tourism industry, we look at fluctuations in the economic uncertainty to these industries, and we look at the impact it has. Just the other day, well, now the banking industry is going through quite a bit of a challenge because of the increase in fees. And so that will be a challenge for businesses that fall in that sector. You think of the tourism industry and economic fluctuations that impact persons wanting to come here, whether it be by local tourists or international tourists. You look at industries like the agricultural industry or any industry that has to import or relies on importation to get their products and services to the market. And so when there is economic uncertainty and when there are fluctuations, what that then does is it translates or it trickles or triggers inflation. And so if there is economic uncertainty such that I can go to one of our members mentioned that they tracked their importation bill for the same service over the course of a year. And every 2 months, that singular service costs them a 10% increase.
Wow.
And so if I go today to purchase a specific item, and in 2 months it's gone up, in another 2 months it's gone up, in another 2 months there's another tax that's added, then that will then have to be passed on to my consumers. And so you run the risk then of an unbalanced economy, both from the standpoint of government, which has the fiduciary responsibility to level and make an environment that is conducive for business, but also for the business owner who has the responsibility to look for those avenues that can help them navigate, as Samantha mentioned, that uncertainty when it comes.
Yeah.
Well, Sam, obviously from the small business side of the table, what are some of the measures that you would recommend for small businesses in light of what Leo has shared? How do they best prepare themselves?
So you mentioned earlier there was a conversation around preparation. And so for any startup, and actuality for even existing businesses that are looking to expand, your research is key. Now, we know that there may be challenges from time to time in accessing data here, but it is very important, whatever business decision one decides to make, that it is made using empirical information. right? And so I think that is one aspect of it. And perhaps not just looking at the local market, but understanding how, obviously based on our proximity, what the international market is doing and how that impacts you. So I would have mentioned earlier, we talked about oil or fuel prices, right? That obviously impacts the Bahamas. And any person, whether they are in business or it's residential, there is this constant concern and complaint about our electricity rates and prices. So that within itself, because for a business to have to fluctuate in terms of the cost of power, the cost of electricity, that causes challenge. Another thing that I would add in terms of entrepreneurs or businesses trying to or attempting to mitigate or plan is that understanding their product and service, right? And taking a look of that value chain to see where there are gaps. And where they could either reduce the cost of their raw materials, perhaps is where they're getting their raw materials from. It could be a matter of looking at the pricing around their products and services. Is this the right price? Is it market priced? Is it overpriced for your particular target group? And so these are just some of the things that I would point out.
Very good information, very good conversation. We're going to take a short break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about diversification. We're going to take a break, and we'll be right back. So please stay with us as we continue our conversation with Leo and Samantha.
At Frame Studio, as soon as you enter the door, we showcase any individual that comes in there and make it feel like they are at home. The space itself is 1,800 square foot. Our side wall, which is industry standard also, is 24 feet wide. You could do anything that you can possibly think of. At Frame Studio, under our theme now, Create More, we look at Frame Studio as a canvas. And any artist know a canvas is blank, and then you create whatever you want to do, right? So we have where you could rent tools. We even have workstations that people could rent out to anyone inspiring to do what I've done, or what my colleagues have done, or any other journey. I would say to you, don't be afraid. The worst someone can actually tell you is no. So if you have a vision, you have an idea, not everyone will get it. But if you believe in your vision, you believe in your idea, I say go wholeheartedly at it.
For more information about the Creative Entrepreneurs Initiative and the Crafting the Bahamas workshops, email info@sbdcbahamas.com or call us at 461-7232.
Fashion was something that I've always loved. I always, as a child, loved to see women just impeccably dressed. But my thing was drawing the looks and mixing colors, and fashion was in my blood. I put my personality into my passion. Well, the Fabric of Hope was inspired by my father. My father had cancer, and I would go with him to treatments and seeing everybody just look despondent and dreary. And I was like, wow, like God, like, I'm only a fashion designer. Like, what can I do to assist these people? I know God had me to create it to inspire persons with cancer or any illness that there's hope. It's been in my heart for a couple of days to speak to the older women who may feel that I'm 40, what can I do? I'm 50, what can I do? And that's when the fire in us kicks in. So take that idea that God has given you and put it to use. This is where it all begins.
Empowered women empower women.
Welcome back to the SBDC's Business Blueprint, where we're here with Leo and Samantha, and we're addressing the issues that affect Bahamian businesses in terms of resiliency. Before we took the break, I wanted to think of one thing and talk very briefly about it. During the Dorian experience, we found that 70% of businesses that were impacted could not operate, could not restart, because they did not have any appreciable level, rather, of technology integrated into their business. So they had no backups, nothing. When Dorian was done with us, COVID came right after.
Yes.
But then we found that about 80% of the businesses could not operate in this new environment of where the customers could no longer have access to your business. In your views, we'll start with Leo, have we made significant progress in terms of just simply improving the integration of technology in our businesses?
Definitely not significant, but I think slow and steady progress. I do see more and more businesses approaching and embracing technology. However, there are still quite a number of them who have no point of sale system, as simple as it sounds, who don't have accounting software, who don't have an online presence. And so, a part of what the Chamber is doing through the Chamber Institute, we have what we call the Digital Transformation Committee. And that committee is poised to do exactly what you said. Look at the gaps in doing business and look at the gaps where in IT, as you mentioned it, is not being infused in these businesses. One of them is going through assisting clients with branding audits. How important is it for you to understand what your presence on social media does? How important is it to understand what a website can do for you? A point of sale system where persons can actually purchase from your website. What about delivery? And so looking at those ways where they can actually strengthen the convenience of doing business. I buy convenience. And so if there's a business that sells convenience, I will actually purchase from that business. I don't have to go to the actual business. I can purchase online. It can be delivered. I have a time where I can collect. And so looking at those avenues that help to strengthen the ease of doing business for our clients, which will ultimately bolster the bottom line of the business.
So then you made a comment about ease of doing business. Sometimes we focus on ease of doing business from the business owner's side of the table. Samantha, how important is it for us to appreciate the ease of doing business from the consumer side, and how do we translate that message into the SME community?
That's very critical. So as Leo was speaking, I was thinking, well, what target audience are we talking about here, right? So you think about our landscape, our archipelagic landscape, and you have some areas where you're talking about digital adoption, and that level is at some points perhaps negative. And so I think when we want to focus on how we cater to our consumers, we know exactly who our consumers are. And so the adoption rate for technology in the Bahamas, particularly in some areas on the Family Islands, it's very low. And so you have to be able to infuse ways or multiple ways to engage your customers and make sure that your product can get into their hands. Now, that does not say that we should not embrace digital means. That does not negate the fact that it is absolutely needed for us to have an online presence. Right? I think depending on where you are, the type of business and size business you are, would help to infuse the right solution and dichotomy in order for you to survive as a small business owner.
So could we agree then that at a very base level, it's simply understanding who my client is and their behavior? Because in today's tourism world, for instance, tourists are not coming to the Bahamas with a pocket full of cash anymore. And so whether they come to Nassau, Grand Bahama, or go to one of our other islands, it then becomes important for every business on those islands to appreciate the fact that I no longer have a customer with two pockets full of cash. They have a plastic means of paying. And so we have to make the shift and be nimble. And these are some of the new words in business. We talk about resilience, we talk about being nimble, we talk about adaptability. These are the things that drive the use of those words. So we have to be able to adjust to the changing behavior of our consumer base. This was topics slightly for a moment. In the whole context of resilience, some proffer that diversification is a way to mitigate against or improve our chances against disruptors. Is there a view that you, what view do you have on that?
I don't necessarily agree holistically that diversification is your single point of mitigation. I say that because, not too long ago, I was chatting with someone and they were talking about the various clients and their products and how they're starting to expand into all of these extra and these other things when they had a really good product, right? If your product is Duff, then how are you expanding into breakfast? Right? And sometimes what happens is I think that there may be this over-diversification or this over-expansion, and you tend to lose that market that you were really catering to And that really fed into your
core business,
your
you'll
core
call it?
business
Yes.
and your success.
Yes.
And so I don't subscribe to the fact that, okay, let's just diversify. That is the answer to it. Sometimes it is not. Sometimes you want to hone into what your product and your service is and specialize in that area because you have a target market that is helping your business to thrive.
Leo, how important is it for businesses to understand in the first instance, but strengthen their core business? We see people moving and adding products and doing various things that have very little of anything to do with their core business, but they think they're doing something positive, but they're actually doing something that's actually eating away at their business.
I completely agree with everything that Samantha has said. When we look at businesses and we look at diversification, adding new products and services to your line does not a diversified product line make. You have to look at your niche market. And that niche market has a specific need. That, again, I go back to the point that businesses operate to serve a need in the market. If that need has shifted such that you need to pivot, then pivoting in a way where diversification becomes the pillar of the services that you currently offer is a better way than trying to implement or infuse new products and services that do not cater to your market. I always think of the instance of a popular food restaurant that went into the sauce business that lasted for all but a month. It was totally outside of the remit of their niche market. And if proper empirical data and studies had been done, market feasibility, testing the market to understand, okay, so I sell, let's say, designer bags. Perhaps I don't make wallets, but now I can diversify such that I'm adding wallets, which is a diversification of my existing product and not a brand new product like hair, for instance.
So we agree then that the strengthening and maximizing and ensuring that we are good, exceptionally good at our core business is also a form of resiliency and allows us to mitigate against some of these disruptors.
Absolutely.
Certainly the conversation has been exciting and insightful, and we thank you both. When we come back from our commercial break, we'll get into our Mentorship Minute with Ariel Pinder.
Hi, I'm Kizzy Hanna, and I am the CEO of Nail Envy Salon Studio and Nail Envy Academy. My business offers education for beginner level, intermediate, and advanced level nail classes for those persons who would like to become nail technicians and continue that education for those persons that are in the professional atmosphere already. So our curriculum has already been vetted and approved by the National Accreditation and Equivalency Council of the Bahamas. What distinguishes Nail Envy Academy from the competitors, we are really focused on relaying our information in a proper and conducive environment, making sure that our students are getting that one-on-one attention that is needed to be able to send them out into the field and be able to be successful in their occupation. I am so passionate about what I do because I want young women to know that not everyone has to have tertiary education. You can throw your whole self at something and bring a difference to your industry.
For more information about the Creative Entrepreneurs Initiative and the Crafting the Bahamas workshops, email info@sbdcbahamas.com or call us at 461-7232.
Since a young girl, I always loved watching the women come in and get their hair done, commune together with everybody. I grew a great appreciation for that. I always had a great love for making women feel beautiful and just the atmosphere of a beauty salon. Hi, my name is Asia Cartwright, and I'm a hairstylist at the Flow Bar in Old Fort Bay. I enjoyed accounting. I did it professionally for a few years. After the pandemic, I decided to take a leap of faith, go off to school in Atlanta at Aveda Institute to learn the science behind hair, because I realized this is my passion. This is something that I really wanted to do, but I wanted to understand the real depth of, okay, why does hair do this? Why is it responding this way? What do I need to do to help someone get on their best hair journeys? It's not been easy. When it's fueled by passion, you always have an extra push of motivation to just try harder. It's being fueled from your heart space. I enjoy making women feel beautiful. I enjoy being a listening ear. It's more than hair, it's like therapy. We all leave leaving lighter. For women that are facing some type of fear that want to change their path and careers, I would say do it. I trusted God because I don't feel like He would have given me the vision and the dreams if it wasn't for me. It doesn't matter what no one says. It doesn't matter, how it looks from the outside. And I'm going to give it my all, and that's what I do.
To learn more about the Women Entrepreneurs Initiative, visit our website or contact us at 461-7232. And remember, empowered women empower women.
Thanks, Jeffrey. Hi, everyone. I'm Ariel Pinder, your host for the Mentorship Minute. Today, let's address an important question. Does the Small Business Development Center provide funding and resources for people living on the Family Islands? The answer is a definite yes. The Small Business Development Center's flagship guaranteed loan program offers funding and advisory resources to entrepreneurs across all Bahamian islands, including the Family Islands. In fact, we have specific initiatives designed to enhance economic opportunities in these communities. For example, in 2024, our Academy of Women Entrepreneurs hosted a cohort in Grand Bahama, and our Royal Caribbean partnership focused on Grand Bahama and the Berry Islands. These targeted efforts are just a few ways we're supporting entrepreneurs in the Family Islands. If you're based in one of these areas, there are plenty of opportunities available for you. For more information, visit our website or contact us directly. We are here to help your business thrive, no matter where you are.
Welcome back. We've certainly been having an exciting conversation. And as we wrap up our time together today, I'm going to invite our guests to make their final comments on resiliency. Leo, we'll start with you.
Sure. Thank you, Jen. I think the conversation was great. This is a great start to helping the small business community, to strengthening the landscape. What I will say is being an entrepreneur is not easy. It's not easy anywhere else around the world, and it's definitely not easy in the Bahamas. Looking for those avenues that can help you to become more resilient, looking for those organizations like the Bahamas Chamber of Commerce and the Small Business Development Center that can actually help to strengthen you, that can help to motivate you, that can help you with connections, being the bridge between things like foreign direct investment, helping you to become more sustainable in terms of your products and services, looking at your pricing mechanism, looking at your branding audits, making sure that you're doing what is supposed to be done from a business standpoint is important. And so I would encourage our listeners to become members of the chamber, to help us to actually give you that level of support that is required, whether it be through those connections, as I mentioned, or whether it be just making sure the landscape is as smooth as possible.
Samantha?
So, Jeffrey, I think for any entrepreneur or small business, I think it's important for them to attempt to plan for the uncertainty. And so what I mean by that is when you're looking at your financial statements, looking at those numbers help to understand where you're trajecting, right? The trajectory of your business. But in planning from a business finance standpoint, you should also try to allocate a portion of your business towards contingency.
True.
That's contingency planning.
Yes.
Because then it is contingent on
Yes. Something.
Happening.
Yes.
And so, if there's one single advice that I can give, because we would find that quite a number of us, were very challenged in terms of Hurricane Dorian as well as COVID. Some of us were able to survive just based on our contingency plan, the savings that we accumulated over the years, because some of us lost employment.
Right.
So taking that same concept to a business, then if there's one single thing that I can say or provide, I would say plan for that uncertainty and have a contingency plan.
Thank you very much. Certainly, the conversation really is a robust one, and we're happy that the partnership between the Chamber and the SBDC is working. What is important for us to take away today is that both entities serve as resources for the community, the business community out there, and especially for those who are in the small business community, we encourage you to take advantage of the resources that the SBDC and the Chamber provides in this regard. A big thank you to both of you, Dr. Rolle. Thank you, And Samantha, thank you for being with us today. It certainly has been an invaluable discussion, and we look forward to future discussions with you as we navigate this era of economic uncertainty. We've learned quite a bit today, and we thank you all for being with us. We look forward to you joining us again on the SBDC's Business Blueprint. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you again soon.